This is the movement. The movement.
I had been, maybe it's better what I've been practicing better. Cause
Okay.
I knew it at 25.
Really?
Yeah, my baby mother was telling me these things at like 24, but I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening to what she was telling me. I wasn't, it was a foreign thought, like, oh, compound interest, saving $20 a day can, give you this amount of money at the end of the year. Investing my money into a Roth IRA. It's as important as anything else.
Really?
It's probably the most important thing. It's probably more important than formal education. It's probably more important than continuing education. It's probably more important than just plain old saving money. Having credit is the main and number one best thing you can do for yourself. If you're not, when you're young and you want those cars, you want those things, you're not realizing, you're thinking that all these guys are going in there and they're buying them cash, and you're not realizing that, these guys are going in there and they're leasing these cars. My brother, who's probably one of the most successful people I know, he's had like 5 Lexuses
How many
in 7
siblings
years.
you have?
A lot.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So, but, my older brother, he's one of the most successful people I know. Like I said, he's had 7 Lexuses in 5 years. That's not because he's purchasing them, it's because he's in a deal with Lexus where he's able to, whenever they put out a new body or they put out a new style, he's able to get that. So it's not always about just having the cash. It's a lot of the time it's about having the means to acquire things. And that, in this day and age in 2016, is really more so about credit.
People don't realize that this world, people with money live off of credit.
Right.
Why do we live in this myth that you need money versus credit when credit is actually more valuable than money?
Because nobody told us any differently.
Do you think that's purpose? Do you think that's a part of a conspiracy? Because white folks know,
I think
white folks don't know.
it's very. I don't think white folks know either. I don't think they're being taught that. No, I don't think. Not that's another myth. That's the myth that all white folks know about money. No,
Okay.
I think that's still the people with the money is still the 1%, and then you have probably another 10% of people who are okay with money. I don't think that it's necessarily you're white, you know about money now. I think me, because where I live, it's all white people and they're broke as hell. They don't know anything about money. They don't know anything about credit. But
what made you move?
I needed to get away from the city. I think it was just time for me to get a break, get a new focus. When you're from here and you're living in it, it's easy to just take it for granted. It's easy to take New York City for granted and not, suck up all the opportunity that's here. And I think a part of that is just, I was taking New York City for granted, and it was starting to swallow me up, and I was glazing over the fact that that here is the place of opportunity. Now that I've spent 3 years out the city and I've seen how slow how it is everywhere else, how kind of backwards it is everywhere else. Now I come back here with a new focus, a new vision, a new, I'm pumped up to be able to reach new goals and things that I wouldn't even seen before if I hadn't have left. So it served its time, and now I'm back in New York with a new focus and a new plan.
How has being a father changed you? Or has it changed you? You've been a father now 21 years, and you're 38.
Being a father to girls has made me more patient because...
With people in general or with females?
With females, because they need a little bit more talking to. If I had a son, I'm sure I would just smack him upside the head and tell him shut up and move along on his way. Where a girl, I have to explain why I'm telling you this. I have to explain why this is a good idea or a bad idea. And you know what I mean? It takes a lot more patience and a lot more time to just get your point across to a girl.
Do you want more children?
Absolutely.
Do you want a son?
Absolutely.
You're 38 though.
I just heard Donald Trump say he has a 10-year-old the other day.
He did.
7.
He did.
7.
He did.
Yeah, I don't think that matters.
Speaking of Trump, how you feel about that right now? I mean, we don't have to get into a political conversation, but it's interesting now.
I think he is extremely dangerous.
Why you say that?
I think the things that he says, his rhetoric, his tone, his misogyny, his sexism.
But he reaches to an audience, maybe, let me say, no disrespect to you, capitalists who are about money and using money to grow and build.
I think America as a democracy is always going to be in favor of the capitalist anyway. It doesn't matter who's at the helm. So it wouldn't matter whether it was Hillary or Obama, or I would have loved it if Joe Biden had run, or Trump. So it doesn't matter who is at the helm. Even if Bernie, the capitalist, had become president, this is a capitalist society that we live in. Big business there will always be a certain amount of people like me who are looking to establish big business. I don't think that any particular political group that sits at the top can stop that. So and Trump doesn't reach me in a way that, because yeah, I might be a businessman, but I'm a black man first. I'm African American first, and I'm a father first. So these and his rhetoric and his sexism, his misogyny, offends me daily, and his direction, his lack of policy, that also offends me. I think the fact that you have somebody who's running for the highest office in the land and he doesn't really have answers, just likes to show a lot of vibrato about the problems, doesn't really sit well with me. That doesn't resonate well for me.
So you talked about being the difference between being a motivational speaker and an activist.
Right.
And you do not want to be looked upon as an activist. First, what's the difference? And then two, why?
Well, I'm not an activist, but I am actively aware. I'm just not actively involved. So I think that's what the difference is between me being an activist, and me just being somebody that's aware. So I'm aware of what's going around, but I don't believe that it's my message to speak about that. That's just not my particular message. My message is that you live your life by design. Nothing out here happens accidentally. You are the pilot of your life. The more that you are aware of your thought, is the more control you will have over what happens in your life. And when you realize that, wow, if I shift the way I think a little bit, if I shift the way my attitude works about certain topics and keep an open mind, how you're able to now achieve more than you could have ever imagined before. These are the things that you weren't even able to think about achieving before. Now, through the power of your mind, you're able to do that. And there are certain skills that are required as well to help you do that. But for the most part, it's really about how you think, And it wasn't until I changed my actual thought on certain things that I was able, and the reaction becomes different, and then the results become different. So it's a thought-based message that I have. It's more about neuro-linguistic programming, learning that your thoughts thoughts become things. Your thoughts is what controls the general highway of your life. I was asked the other day by a client or a prospective client asked me the other day if I was a life coach.
Right. Okay.
And I said absolutely not. And he was like, "You're not a life coach?" I said, "No, because I can't tell you how to live your life. Okay, half the time I don't even know how to live mine all the right way. But what I can teach you about is some personal growth. I can teach you about how to grow as a person, how to develop some mind muscle. But we're not using as much of our brain power as we should be. We're not giving enough of ourselves as we should be, to our brain and to learning and to, achieving more. And that's a big part of it. That's a big learning that, wow, you have to really actually try to learn as much as you can about certain topics if you want to be successful in certain topics. You know what I mean? I didn't learn, even though I went to college, I didn't learn about business in school. I learned about business from being in business.
Okay, so let's speak on that for a minute. You've been in business a long time, bruh. And when we say business, like when I was at Shed's house the other day, I was like, yo, I talked to Wayne about a business opportunity. And first thing was like, well, Wayne's a hustler. Wayne know how to go get money. So, that was always a problem that we had with you. You knew how to go get money, but for a lot of years you did not get money the legal way. But it teaches you business.
Right. So I guess most hustlers in these streets, they could probably go out and run their own Fortune 500 company. Because I mean, literally, I've been running in the streets. I was running businesses, right, with 4, 5, 6 employees. You know, we're bringing in more capital.
Do you mind talking about that?
I don't mind talking about it at all. We're bringing in more capital than what most small businesses bring in, right?
How long ago was this?
Not long, right? Not that long ago. So, you know, I'm only street retired a few years. Okay?
A few years is 3.
Okay, so a couple.
A couple is 2.
No, a couple, right, a few. So
you say you only retired?
Yeah.
So say 5, no,
under 5 years.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
You're only street retired for
less than 5 years.
Really, Wayne?
Right.
Have you ever served time?
No.
How not? Because what, 38, take away 5 is what, 33?
Yeah, discipline.
So, discipline. There's been a lot of hustlers out there who had discipline and served some time. How you never got caught at 33?
Honestly, straight discipline. Learning the difference between hustling and running a business.
Wow.
You know,
so you took the street game and really actually made it into a business.
That was the difference. We weren't just hustling. When I had the trap, it wasn't 1,000 girls running through my trap, and it wasn't a party spot. We were just doing business there. And at night I would go home. You know what I mean? Like we would run shifts, and then we would go home, and it would be like work.
So 5 years. How did that sit on your spirit, if any kind of way, and then what made you stop?
I don't think any hustler gets into the business to say, oh, I'm gonna be doing this particular hustle for the rest of my life.
But 33, that's an adult life.
Right, you get in and
you've been hustling. I've known you since you was 16, 15 years old.
Right, well, I wasn't always hustling the same thing either.
Okay.
It was you know, you elevate, you upgrade.
Okay.
You know, there's levels, right? So you might have started.
How did Carlton not turn out that way, and how did you go to the streets wanting to hustle? Because that was always a beef with me and you were, you know, when you would talk and complain about your mom, it was like, but why you choosing this life?
Right.
Why you want to be in the street so bad?
I think environment has a lot to do with it. You know, they grew up Staten Island. Not to say they didn't grow up in the hood, but they grew up in a different environment and a different. My brother's 10 years older than me.
Okay.
So they also grew up in a different era, and the time period that I grew up, you know, it's funny because I just touched base with a few people that I went to high school with. I went to Columbus in the 90s, and I just bumped into some people who went to Columbus in the 90s, and we were all just talking together, and I said, you know, if you look at all these people on my Facebook from that era, none of them have really done anything too particularly successful. You know, none of them have really, it was just a really bad time because we were all cutting school, you know, smoking a lot of weed, cutting home, just going to homeroom, and then we were out. You know, and we explored the whole city. I know more about New York City probably because of my teenage years than my adult years. We would leave school and get on the train and go to Staten Island to smoke weed and play basketball.
Wow.
You know, we would get on the train and leave homeroom and then end up in Coney Island or end up in Times Square or running from truancy in Midtown, stuff like that.
But people would say you chose that.
Absolutely.
Why? Why choose that life?
Because we didn't see the benefit of scholastics. We didn't see the benefit of taking school seriously and pushing that on to the next level, onto the collegiate level, onto the master's level, where now I'm earning an MBA and I'm coming out and I'm gonna go work for, you know, Merrill Lynch. We didn't see that.
How influential was your parents in trying to get you to go the other way to see that? Or were your parents or were your family
was an absentee, and my mother is old school Jamaican. So even now, like when I talk to my mother now at 38, I own 5 LLCs now, okay? When I talk to my mother about entrepreneurship, it's offensive to her. I find when I start talking to my mother about certain things that I know, because I feel as though I'm on the cusp right now of millions, multi-millions, right? To my mother, that's foreign talk. It's like, I'm crazy. You know, in her opinion, I should have went here, accumulated $30,000 worth of student loans and debt, and then I wouldn't be skipping a step. Then it would probably be more realistic to her. But because I'm not a college graduate, because I don't have my MBA, you know, to her, it's like, well, you're not gonna, that's impossible. You know, she doesn't believe that I can go on and make multiple millions of dollars in any business. Whereas I understand that it's doing business that how you learn business. Failing in business is how you learn in business. And I failed in business a lot. I failed in businesses quite a few times where now I know now what not to do, so it makes knowing what to do all the more easy. It makes it all the more easy to flow into the businesses that I have now and do them successfully with limited mistakes because of the mistakes that I've made in the past. Being an entrepreneur, and right now, I don't have an office, not in the house or outside office. I'm working back at the kitchen table again right now, just for a very short time. But what I've learned is this: through all these years that I've been an entrepreneur and I've been on my own, and I've just been working, me and maybe an assistant or me and the few other employees that I have. But this is what I do every day. First thing, when I wake up, I make the bed, and I don't touch it again. I don't work from the bed. I make sure that I get up every day, get dressed, put a shirt on, put a button up on, and get dressed as though I'm going to the office. Okay. That's the first step. And then from there, I can get business done. But I don't, like I said, I don't lay around in basketball shorts and a t-shirt all day and then, make my business calls, answer emails, and do business, work from the laptop. Write, because I'm trying to be a writer, so I don't sit around and try to write, dress casually, because this way it feels too casual and it doesn't feel like work. So that's the first thing. In order to be serious about what you're doing, you have to start taking the whole environment that you're working in and that you're giving back to yourself. You have to start taking that environment seriously as well. So that's one of the main things, is to make sure that you're at least presenting yourself, and so it feels in your mind as though you're really working every day. And your work product will show. It'll show much more in your work product when you start taking that more seriously. My work.
Right.
And it's really because my work looks social.
Right.
It looks like we're hanging out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, nah, I feel like because I don't go to somewhere where I punch a clock every day, that it comes off like we're hanging out, and it seems more social. Me, even with the music stuff, it seems, I'm in the club now. So it's like, oh, nah, you're just going to the club. And I'm like, no, I gotta go. I'm releasing a song tonight. So I have, $700 invested in this party and bottles and this image and photographer. Right. So for the single to come out, because it's also a video shoot, and you're like, oh, you're partying. I'm like, wow, this is...
So then how did you end up staying in that relationship? Not that one per se, but when that happens. No, okay, so not that one per se, because that happens. Like, they love you, they respect you, they think what you're doing is great, but it's almost, you're right, it's not taken serious.
Right, it's not taken serious.
It's like you're out there partying. And like, I'm supposed to stop what I'm doing right now because I'm just talking to you.
Honestly, it's a huge strain on my relationships because I feel as though career first. That's the level I'm at right now. I'm 38 years old, I don't feel like I have a lot of time to waste. So I'm career first right now, and I will leave you if you're not taking my.
This is the movement. The movement.
TV's natural session is going to be a place where we can heal by each other's examples, where we can heal by each other's downfalls, where we can heal by each other's praises. Life is not all bad. There are some good things in life, and sometimes we come from very bad situations. So what good examples shows us is that, one, it's possible, but two, if it's not in my circle, if it's not in my environment, how can I create that for myself? How can I now be in that association or a quality of folks that will help me enhance my life. So that's what these conversations are going to hopefully do. Everybody's from different backgrounds, different cultures, different household situations, breakdowns. So it's not going to be, well, that's a poor black woman, or that's a poor black man, or that's a ghetto, or that's a hood, or that's a bougie, or that's an educated, or that's a religious. No. The Movement Natural Sessions will interview folks that covers the whole gamut, of people, so that, no, you don't say, well, it's just those kind of folks, or it's just those kind of folks. You will actually get to see yourself. So let's begin. My biggest thing is talking to folks about lessons, what they know now at their age, whether it's 40, 50, 30, whatever it might be. What do they wish that they knew at 20, at 14, at 16, that pivotal point where life began to change, or life began to evolve for them? What is that one thing that they wish they knew? I've noticed that, there's a cycle in life that we go through. Obviously our childhood and our youth is to find out who we are, and find out what we love, and find out what makes us us. And then, our teenage years, we think we grow, we're trying to test the waters, we're trying to test authority, we're trying to, say, I know it all, and then we come into our 20s, and that's our first time of liberation. That's our first time out on our own. That's our first time getting a taste of independence. So we make very, very foolish mistakes. And then we come into our 30, where we start to kind of realize some of those mistakes that we've made in our 20s, but we're still, we're not quite there yet. So we're in the what do I do stage. We're in the how can I now be better, but still trying to figure ourselves out. And then we come into our 40s, the doors, the lights open, the gates open, and we get clarity. We get a sense of ourselves. We get a sense of, knowing who we are, knowing what we want, being okay with ourselves. But did you hear the breakdown? That took to our 40s. Then we get into our 50s and we're content. We got it covered. 50, 60, 70, God willing, we are content. We have figured it out. But why does it take us until we're 50? Why does it take us until we're in our 40s for that light bulb to come on?
Is my grandson and my new granddaughter coming. We're trying to keep him in sports. He's a little roughneck. Okay. We was just at the party last weekend. He picked the little nigga up, dropped him, gave him a couple of 2 pieces, and was like,
why?
Just rough, because he gets it from his dad. So he takes his dad's gene, and I'm like, I told him, bring your little ass here. I said, we're not gonna have that. I told him, we're not gonna have that. Yeah, a couple of 2 pieces. He was like this on the little nigga. And then the little boy was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do, Jordan. I said, Jordan, we can't have this. He's something else. He's only 5. But the dad is only, 23, 24. He's young. So when you have a lot of our youngsters, when we have our babies making babies, you already know the mind and the brain isn't developed where they can mature in life like they should. So, and then when I spoke to this young man, when my daughter was having a baby, because we talked, he said, I saw my mom go through a lot of rough stuff too, Miss Angie, so that's probably why I'm the way that I am. But I told him, you can always be a better person in life. You don't have to be this mean roughneck, beat them up, bang, bang, shoot them up, always looking to kill and rob and steal folks. Have goodness in your heart. Have righteousness in your bones. Because when you have righteousness in your bones.
What's one thing, that you wish at 14 someone said to you?
I've thought about that before. So, damn, what wish my daddy would have told me about? I hate to say it, but it's really simple. Condoms. I didn't even know what a condom was. The closest I got to a condom was one that was in one of the older guys' wallets in his back pocket. And every now and then he'd take it out and show us this condom. Which we didn't even call condom back then. We called it. Every now and then you'd see a rubber dick. And it was the nastiest thing. Well, you want to not to do such a one of those things.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
That's real talk.
And then there was this whole thing too about, you know, what constituted a man. You know, and that was part of our culture. I'm sure all my homeboys would agree who went to school with me when we got to NCCU. Part of the thinking, and it seemed to be throughout the dormitory with every heterosexual man anyway, was you got to have a flock. You can't just have one or two women. Man, you know, you the man. Super fly, all that, you know, street culture, you know, all up in the mix. So we was trying to have more than one or two girls when we was in high school. We get to college. And the women, the male to female ratio is what? When we was at Central, it was 12 to 1. 12 women for every guy. Come on. I thought I had landed in paradise. You know what I'm saying? Good God Almighty. Man.
Just thinking about it.
Just thinking about it. Power. It's just holding my hand. And I'm like, and I just stop because I'm frustrated now. So I stop. I give up. And I look up and I'm sitting next to the car. And the cop is staring at me. And I look at him and he just, you know, and he wasn't staring at me on no nefarious shit. He's staring at me and he looks at me and says, you know, how you doing? You know, just to acknowledge. And I was like, so there little things like that, like along the journey of fucked-upness. You know, that, and I know people sometimes, you know, people think it's cliche, people think that I'm crazy when I say it, but that was nothing but God. Something was, and I look up and I saw why. And I think back many times in my life, that has been the case a couple times. Like, that has been the case a couple times. There was one time I was driving my brother back from college because, you know, at this point, you know, I'm a little bit older and Jamie had just graduated from college and, you know, nobody else is going to get him. And I was like, all right, boom, I can do this. Drove down to Atlanta, didn't sleep because, you know, you're young, you're invincible, you didn't sleep. Drove down from New York to Atlanta, made it in about 16 and a half hours, going to the Mrs. Winter kitchen, wash my body like.
So at this time in my life, I've been around people who also in their 50 plus are going through some of the same things. You're at this halfway mark, you know what I mean? Halfway in and halfway out because you've lived here long enough to have seen and done some things that are powerful or just bland to now say, this is now or never. So we're all at a place where we find there are more important things that I need to get to than on the same playing field with people who are going through the same things about challenges, about getting to some of the goals, about getting things done, and all around purposes have a greater meaning. If you think in terms, you're about to check out in a minute, I'm not going to be well enough or able enough to get to some of these passions and dreams and ideas that I have. So while I still have this passionate energy, this fervor to actually do some of the things I'm committed to, I need to get also being fulfilled as a person from the inside. I watch the world go by sometimes through the lens of other people, whether it be the news or just being out and about, and then I always look at what's my contribution.